quality, those.
It's Jamie Redknapp, lads. Yeah, you might have seen one telling.
Getting knocked out by Germans on pens, and they went to the closer, and it was Walk Away by Cast. You know, great tune, but it's heartbreaking.
It was.
Heartbreaking.
Cunts. No, he got the goal.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Well, what's wrong with you? Why are you like that? And the first thing you do, Fenners, is you go home, get in the bath and put them on for like 20 minutes in a nice hot bath, take them out, get the newspaper, stuff it with a newspaper, then put it by the radiator.
In my head, I imagine you're lying there, naked, in your bath, just with your boots, but you're probably not, are you?
No.
Oh, are you?
I'm in there. I'm lying down with the boots on, but you're missing one vital point. I've actually got my socks on as well, just to make it a bit sexier, you know what I mean? And I remember Tony Pulis going, don't worry, I'll sort it out.
Yeah.
Done, because he thought, don't take liberties with the kid again, you know, and I needed that.
Yeah.
Different era.
Of course, yeah. Did he play in a cap?
In a cap, Tony. Yeah, I know, yeah, exactly. He loved that baseball cap, didn't he, at Stoke? First time I played against Incy, and as we were pulling into Old Trafford, I remember seeing all the players' cars there. He had like L8 Gov, and I thought, what a helmet, you know. Is this your better side?
Hey, it's lying on deck. I always go on that side, yeah.
All right.
Go on there. And action. You like it? That setup?
Thanks for having me, mate.
It's not quite Super Sunday, mate. But
This is Super Monday. And my specialist subject, football boots.
Mate.
Thanks for having me on.
It's taken a while, but we got there, didn't we?
Yeah, I did, yeah. But honestly, football boots is something, just growing up, it brings back great memories.
Yeah.
You know, in my house, it's Christmas when you got the new boots coming through. That's all you ever wanted as a kid.
Because we've had people on here, like Frank. Frank's done it. I think you know Frank, don't you?
Yeah.
And he loved his boots. I mean, he turned up with a bin bag full of all his boots.
Yeah.
I've still actually got them at my house.
Really, yeah.
I keep saying to him, Frank, you need them back.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
like, no, don't worry, Frank, it's all right, it's all right. But he was like properly into it.
Yeah.
Cara, no clue. With the best will in the world, you know, it's like, he just was like, I don't know what I was wearing, Fenners. I haven't got a clue. I was like, remember these? Yeah, maybe. Apart from the Nikes that he wore in the Champions League final.
Right, yeah. Which wasn't a bad one.
No.
But do you know what, Fenners, for me, I always think back to Christmas. Was, Dad was the manager of Bournemouth, and all you ever wanted was a pair of football boots. And in those days, it was Patrick's were the best bootmaker. So you'd have Patrick Super King, Keegan Kids, Patrick Super Keegan, because obviously Kevin Keegan was the idol at the time. So if you got a pair of Patrick Keegan Kids, sweatbands, used to go, like Boxing Day, I'd go training with my dad, new boots on. There's nothing better, mate. It's the best.
That Christmas feeling of getting up, and I got a pair of Golas.
Goals, yeah.
The speedsters with the yellow stripes.
Of course.
I got a Liverpool towel, Liverpool bread spread, not a duvet cover, because we didn't have duvets.
No,
didn't have duvets then.
Not at all.
We don't do duvets. And a bobble hat, and it was like, it was just, I remember it vividly. Patrick, did you ever go on to like the Platinis or the 2020s?
Platinis, 2020s. And then like Adidas then started to, when they came in with the sort of Copa Mundials, they were a beautiful boot. And that was almost like, if you had a pair of those when you were a kid, and that was what all the best players used to wear. But it was, nowadays, if you look at how the boots are, they're sort of every 2-3 months, like Nike will roll out a new pair, Skechers roll out a new pair, different colourways. It didn't happen like that. The only time you really saw a new pair was the World Cup. And then everything, then you see one of your heroes wearing them, right, I want those. But it was just obviously so different then, and we didn't have things like Pro Direct to be able to get the boots as quick as you can. But no, I'm excited to get the boots open and see what you got in store for me, mate.
Do you have a local sports shop that you used to go into?
Yeah, of course.
What was it?
Well, we had, so the local sort was there, what was it called? Super Sports was one. But there was one I lived in Bournemouth, so Christchurch, we used to go there and they'd have all the latest boots and that. But even, you know, when I went to Bournemouth I pretty much grew up at Bournemouth Football Club. So our dad was the manager. That boot room was so tiny, we used to have to duck in to go in, and all the boots would be there and all the new players. So Luther Blissett, when I was an apprentice, I used to have to clean Luther Blissett boots. And he had the Pumas, like they were the beautiful SPA Kings.
Yeah.
Just
what
the
boots.
leather on them. I
Yeah.
think it was kangaroo skin.
Yeah.
So unethical, really, but they were so soft, you know.
Yeah.
And I used to have to clean his boots while I was playing in the first team with
Right.
them, like clean them, and he used to want them a bit shinier. But he used to make them damp. So I'm like, come on, Luther, how am I meant to clean these? We had some, all the best players would have. Sean Brooks was a really good midfield player, very cultured player. But he should have been Italian, really. Good-looking boy, long hair. He used to love having the pasta. He used to love like the Pantofola d'Oro boots. So I used to always want to wear those. So
we'll get to them in a bit, mate. We'll get
really?
to them. They might be making an appearance.
Oh, tell me. Listen, I love those boots.
Right, do you want to crack on, Jamie?
Yeah, let's have a look. Jamie Redknapp, 1988, the Lily Whites.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Yeah, thing of beauty. Let's get them both up. Yeah. Thing of beauty, mate.
So,
Copa Mundials.
So you were at Spurs as a schoolboy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what age would you have been then?
So I was that easy just
no,
doing
go on,
that.
you can
So
give
this
yeah,
is it. So you get them like that, then you have to sort of get them down. And then this is the important bit as well. You've got to push this bit here.
Oh, right.
Because you don't want to get the blisters. So you have to give them a little squeeze.
Smell, of course.
Oh, I love the smell. Yeah, no, they're beautiful. Great memories with those. Even the sole plate there was nice. So when I was, as a kid, I was a good schoolboy player, and a lot of clubs were interesting. I went to Everton as a schoolboy.
Okay.
Loved it up there. They had a chief scout called Ray Minchell, who really took a shine to me as a player, and so I went up to Everton.
Who was the manager at the time there?
I would have been 14.
No, who was the manager then?
Oh, sorry, that would have been Howard Kendall.
Oh, Kendall, okay.
So Howard was the manager, and Colin Harvey was. He was. I actually stayed with Colin Harvey's mum and dad. They had that in the digs there. Made a real fuss of me. Loved the club, and the training ground was sort of not far from Stanley Park.
Belfield, is it?
Belfield,
Yeah,
that's right. It was called. So I went there, loved it, and then I went to a few other clubs. And there was interest. And in those days, what you would do is you sign like associated schoolboy forms and a scholarship, and maybe a pro if you were lucky. So got to 14. Dad was a manager of Bournemouth, and just felt at that time Tottenham were doing well. I think Gazza was there, and a lot of good players, and I thought that was the best fit for me. And John Moncur's dad at the time, remember John Moncur played for West Ham? His dad was the youth development officer at Tottenham. And I remember him coming, so I just turned 14, and he turned up at school with my dad to pick me up. And I just thought it was a really nice touch. So I went back to my house, where Dad had a snooker table at the time, so we played a bit of snooker. And we said, look, we really want you to sign, got the schoolboy forms out. And I signed at the time 2-year scholar, 2-year schoolboy, 2-year scholar, 2-year pro. So I was actually going to sign until I was 21. Wow. Then I got to sort of 16 years of age, and I got a little bit homesick. Didn't feel right. And I said to my dad, I said, look, Dad, I can be in your first team. Now I'm ready, and he sort of looked, cool, you're having yourself. But in a way,
you've got
to back yourself. So I went back to Tottenham, and at the time, it was Terry Venables then was the manager. David Pleat was the manager when I signed. And Terry Venables was like, well, look, we're not going to let you go. I said, well, I say I'm homesick. So I said, look, I'm homesick. I want to go back to Bournemouth. Anyway, 6 months later, I moved to Liverpool. So I wasn't that homesick. But so 14 years of age, these were the boots. This and obviously World Cup 82s.
Yeah.
And just looking at them now brings back great memories. Just a beautiful boot. And I always felt like if you had those on, you knew it. You look at the other team, and if someone had Copas on, they can play a bit.
Let's talk about the laces. What would you talk about what you do with the laces?
I didn't go that way.
No, okay.
I would. First thing I would do, because if they turned up like that, I would do the crossover way. That was always my thing. Tongue down, obviously, and then go under longer laces, come under back over. I mean, these laces are quite. They would still be long enough.
So you
even
go
if they
underneath.
weren't. Definitely underneath. And just that bit there. It was just that little touch there for me that was just beautiful.
Any tricks of the trade to keep your tongues down? I've heard put them on a radiator, wet them, peg them down.
You just put anything just to keep it like that.
Yeah.
But
So,
beautiful boot.
So as a schoolboy, we just have like the one pair of boots.
Yeah.
Then,
One. That was it.
Yeah.
You didn't have nowadays when you're getting boots given to you and things like that. I mean, you'd have one pair of boots, and you'd wear them even at times. So they say when you struck a ball, they'd obviously wear that bit out from my right foot. but you'd maybe take them to the cobbler just to get them fixed again, and maybe put a few little nails in there just to keep them, because
nails.
Yeah, or just like little tiny little things.
Okay.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
the old nail, but you know what, Fenners? It was like they felt like an extension of you, and the more you wore them, the better they were.
Were you someone who liked a tight boot?
Yeah.
You cram your foot into it, would you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you go down half a size, or?
Yeah, I would not just have them probably, but I like to wear them, especially with the leather, the ones that were sort of kangaroo skin. You'd be able to stretch them. So I want them tighter, so you felt they were really comfortable around your feet. Robbie Fowler, for instance, I think Robbie was probably size 8. He'd wear a size 7, something like that, and just want to get his feet in there.
He wore 2 pairs of socks as well.
I know, yeah, but you love that feeling of it just being, tight round his feet. But yeah, no, I would definitely like to do that. And the first thing you do, Fenners, is you go home, get in the bath and put them on for like 20 minutes in a nice hot bath, take them out, get the newspaper, stuff it with a newspaper, then put it by the radiator.
Do you know, I've just had this thought. You know, when people say that to me, you get in a hot bath with them. Now, so in my head, and this is probably where I'm going wrong, in my head, I imagine you're lying there, naked, in your bath, just with your boots, but you're probably not, are you?
No.
Oh, are you?
I'm in there. I'm lying down with the boots on, but you're missing one vital point. I've actually got my socks on as well, just to make it a bit sexier. You know what I mean? I'd go full. I wouldn't go full kit. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't put the shorts and the shirt on in the bath. That's a bit odd, you know what I mean? That's taking it too far.
There's boat perverts and there's boot perverts.
Yeah, exactly. If you could have had a photo of that, it would have been a good one.
Yeah.
But you had to get them, and then you take them out straight away, boom, get the paper in there, right in as well, Fenners. You've got to get it right up in there. And but beauty, great memories, love it.
Good start, strong start. Right, you want to pop those away?
Okay.
And then we can go on to pair number 2.
Again?
In your own time.
Okay, let's have a look. Great memories. In the 90s, cherries. This is probably, I'll wait a second, because this gives me such a nice feeling. When I think about my career, I was lucky, Fenners. I played for great clubs. But when I think back at my favourite time as a footballer was when you're a scholar, when you're YTS boy, you're doing all the jobs, cleaning the toilets, cleaning players' boots. As I said, I cleaned Luther Blissett boots, Sean Brooks's boots. You get the 20 quid at Christmas. And this, if you've got the Pantofolas in here, I will be loving this.
So these are they're a remake of what you would have worn at the time.
Yeah, but they're still beautiful. Yeah. So the story behind the Pantofolas was, so Ray Wilkins was one of my heroes growing up. I loved him as a footballer. He was always played in Italy. I always had a big thing that I wanted to play in Italy. And I loved the way Ray played. He was such a good midfield player, technical, football intelligence, and just brilliant. Always looked immaculate as well, didn't he? Always dressed so well. And Ray's brother, he had a shop in Brighton, a sports shop, and he would import the Pantofola d'Oro boots. So me and a few of the other scholars at Bournemouth would go there. So my mate Dean Giddins and a couple of the others, he's a midfield player like myself. We'd go there, pick them up, and they were just like nothing we've ever seen. They was obviously completely blank. There's a slightly different, but not much different. They didn't even have. They might have had a bit of gold on the bottom, but just like that. Yeah. And the leather was so good. They were so soft, and as soon as you put them on, you just felt like you just wanted to just spray the ball about. Like you even tuck the shorts up a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. A little bit of the shirt out. Long hair at the time, Fenners. My dad had an Italian restaurant. You know what I mean? I thought I was Italian at one point. Yeah, come on.
You've got the Milan kit on, basically.
Oh,
as well.
Definitely, exactly. Well, Dad and I, this is true. When Dad was the manager, we actually designed this kit. So, because we looked at AC Milan at the time, they were obviously the force. Yeah. I was so into the football and the kits and everything. So we went, why don't we try and do, because Dad was, in those days, he was the manager, he could pretty much decide what he wanted. It wasn't like the days of like this person, that person running the club. And Bournemouth weren't the force that they are now in the Premier League, or have the training ground or facility. So we had black shorts, black socks, and the red and black shirt. So it looked like pretty much AC Milan, Ruud Gullit, Rijkaard. And then obviously when you drop these on as well, I mean, I was Frank Rijkaard in his prime, you know what I mean? But they're beautiful boots, and they were just so understated, but so cool. It was like, you walk into a nightclub and you see someone's dressed well, you give it that one. Yeah. Nice one, man. That was when someone had the Pantofola, you thought, you could play.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't see many centre-backs in these.
No.
Yeah.
It's that mark of respecting it off you, like your peers on a pitch,
Exactly.
having a little look.
You go. Just one of those. But beautiful, honestly. And even that smell, just, such a great boot.
And you'd have a moulded, would you?
No, I normally wear the studs for these because, you know, that would be. And you had one pair, Fenners. I was on £27.50 a week as a scholar. You didn't go and buy 2 or 3 pairs. And in those days at Bournemouth, although I was sort of a really, good young player, no one was sending you boots.
No.
It was only when I went to Liverpool when you realise actually people will send you gear, and that was like blew your mind really, because you used to have to go up and buy them. Luther Blissett, tell a lie. Luther had he used to get the Pumas, and a few of the other players would maybe get a pair sent, but it wasn't like you get a big box of gear. Like,
what was Luther wearing?
He was SPA Kings.
SPA Kings. Oh.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's what Robbie used to wear.
Yeah. And they were just and Luther and they were so soft, and as I say, I was his boot boy.
Well, he played for Milan, didn't he?
Yeah, played for Milan. That's right. So he, when I was Luther's boot boy, I'd always say, because I was in the first team with him as a 16, 17-year-old. 16. I left at 17, and Luther would always want the boots immaculate, but he used to make them damp, Fenners. So he'd wet them, then ask me to clean them. So I'd have to go in the boot room. I'm starting the game with him, and he'd be like that trying to shine them, but just couldn't get them. He's like, come on, where's my? But it was all part of just relaxing me before the game. Yeah. But Luther was a great guy, a bit tight with the tips.
Oh, really?
20 quid at Christmas, yeah. And I was better than that, to be honest, because I was one of the best boot boys out there, But no, great days.
In terms of going into that first team, you obviously weren't lacking confidence because you told your dad, you should be in that team. But how was it as a young lad at that level of football at that time?
I was a manager's son.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're walking in at times, and I never got changed in the first team dressing room because I was still only 16 years of age. So I would get changed day to day with my mates, with the youth team players and the reserve team players that weren't in the team. And sometimes walking into my own dressing room, and let's say if Dad hadn't played them or would let them down or not picked them, and I'd walk in and I could tell as soon as I walked in they'd been talking about him. You know what I mean? That was awkward.
Yeah.
But one thing I had in my favour, and this isn't just having myself, I could play. So nobody could turn around and go, he's only there because of his dad. As soon as I got in the first team, Liverpool wanted me. But it's different now. You go in. I used to walk into that first team dressing room, and there was people like Paul Miller, who played for Tottenham. Kevin Bond was obviously a big player in that time. Peter Shearer was a good player. He went on to play for Birmingham. Sean Brooks, Luther Blissett, Ian Bishop was a good, top player as well. Bish. So I used to go in there, and you used to hold your breath because you were nervous because you thought they're gonna do something. Yeah. You'd have to pick all the kit up, and next thing a sock would hit you on the back of the head or whatever. But it was just part of it, Some players wouldn't be able to handle that kind of thing now, but I actually just love that dressing room environment, the smell of the deep heat and everyone just getting ready. And as I say, as a young player, there was extra pressure because my dad was a manager, but it didn't really bother me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was your dad harder on you, would you say, than other players?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a case where I made my debut against Hull. I was just turned 16. And Dad was the manager. I was sub in the game, and we were winning, I think 4-5-0 away from home. But they had one player who I couldn't take my eyes off all game, and that was Billy Whitehurst, the great Billy Whitehurst, the hardest footballer ever to play football ever. So I was just watching him. I was mesmerised by this guy, and he was getting angrier and angrier. Anyway, 10-15 minutes to go. Dad goes, get warmed up. You're going on now. I'm 16. I'm buzzing. But I'm also thinking, there's a caged animal out there. He's at the cage, and he wants to hurt someone. And so I've got the ball, and the game was sort of dying out because we were so comfortable. And I've never forgot it. I sort of took it to my left side, and as I've gone across the pitch, I could hear him like snorting behind me. So I played a short one to Paul Morrell, was our big left back, and he's clipped it up the line, but Billy's gone crashed him up into the air because I'd left him a bit short. And as Paul's got up, he's sort of gone to have a go, and he's seen it's Billy. Yeah. And I've nearly started like a 20-man brawl, and I'm like, God, this is what football's about. But lucky enough, it got calmed down quickly. But it was a great moment to play against Billy. But the reason why I said that was because after that, there were times when a lot of the senior players would say to my dad, look, you should play him. But Dad was careful with me. He knew I was, still only 16 years of age, and the game was different then. It was a lot more, it wasn't quite as, nowadays you get a bit of time on the ball. You can't kick people as much, but sometimes I'd get lumps kicked out of me. I had Tony Pulis, who was almost a minder for me on the pitch, which I was so grateful for.
You played with Tony Pulis?
Yeah, because I needed him really, because at times, there would be players like you play against Portsmouth, and they had a guy called Mick Kennedy and Mick Tate, and they would try to kick lumps out of you. They were also talented players, but they loved to tackle, and if they left a bit on you, the first person you wanted there was Tony Pulis. So there was one game pre-season, someone done a horrendous tackle. I think it might be Mick Tate or Mick Kennedy, forgive me, whichever one it was, but it was a horrendous challenge. I got a load of stitches on my leg. And I remember Tony Pulis going, don't worry, I'll sort it out. Anyway, 10 minutes later, one of them's getting carted off on a stretcher because Tony's just gone, done him, because he thought, don't take liberties with a kid again, and I needed that. Different era.
Of course, Did he play in a cap?
In a cap, Tony. I know, exactly. He loved that baseball cap, didn't he, at Stoke? But Tony was tough, mate, honestly, but great for me.
You like to tackle, though, and you had to be able to tackle, didn't you, in that
era?
I
didn't have a reputation as a tackler,
no,
but I would be a
bit,
sometimes I'd go sliding the odd reckless two-footed challenge, you know what I mean? But not really.
Head's gone.
Yeah, if I played now, I'd be a hard man, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get your next pair out, just how's the day job going?
Yeah, good. Very lucky, mate. I've been, I retired early for injuries, and I never knew quite what was going to happen for me next, because it's difficult, because it was something that my passion and love was for football. And when you're a footballer, all you think is going to do it forever. But then all of a sudden you get to sort of 31 years of age, and you go to America to get surgery, hoping that he might give you another year, and he just turns to you and said, look, you have to stop now. Otherwise you're going to need a knee replacement in about 2 years. So you stop, and then you go, okay, what's next? And one of the best decisions I ever made was going to Sky, because at the time there was an opportunity, working with Richard Keys and Andy Gray, and they didn't have many pundits. Well, there was BBC, and I thought, I enjoyed working at Sky. They had all the live football. Yeah, one of the best decisions I've ever made. Yeah, and still loving it. Love it. I go to work, I just did the game. It wasn't the best game ever, Liverpool, Tottenham, but two of my former sides, and I go there with a love for the game. I'm always excited. You on Saturday night we've seen, hopefully, and I don't want to put, I am going to put pressure on him, because I don't think anybody can sort of state how good this kid's going to be. But when I watched Max Dowman score his first goal, and that's a moment. They're the moments that get you excited. And when he's running through and going, I'm jumping up and down. I'm not even an Arsenal fan, but that's what football does to you. And it was so nice to see that. And they're the little things that make you love this job, because there's always something happening. And a lot of these young kids that are coming through, like Rio, I've seen at Liverpool, and Gamoa since he was at Chelsea when he was sort of 7, 8 years of age, playing with my son. Max Dowman, JJ Gabriel, I've seen since they were younger. So a lot of these young players that we're going to be seeing this next generation are all the same age as my son. So I've got to know how good they all can be. And you can dress down a bit more now, can't you? I mean, I always thought that you're obviously very sartorial, always well dressed. You always dressed up really well, I thought, and looked really smart. But now you can dress down on that show. But dressing down can almost be harder sometimes, can't it? You've got to get that right, but I think you nail it. Well, I don't know, like yesterday we turned up, so I'm working with Roy Keane and Ashley Young, and then normally Ashley's quite casually dressed, and then Roy wears maybe the odd jumper, so I'm thinking, I'll put something casual on. But then you walk in and you go, Ashley's got a suit on. So you're thinking, you know what I mean? It's like, you've got the wrong dress code. You go to a wedding and someone's looking smarter than you. But no, it is different. It's different in terms of like when you knew. And that was something that Richard was really keen on, that he wanted everyone to dress as wearing a shirt and tie. And I quite liked it. It was like, this is an event. It's Super Sunday, people are at home watching it, you can get dressed up. Next one? But next one, I'm excited about this, because this is my club. Right, 94, the comeback, Adidas World Cup. Just tell us about your move to Liverpool. I'd grown up in Bournemouth. Bournemouth is obviously a lovely seaside town, and then all of a sudden, as a 17-year-old, your world gets turned upside down, but for the better, to go to Liverpool. And Kenny Dalglish was obviously a big part of that. I went up there it's not a trial, because they wanted me to go and have it, just to come up for a week. So I was playing in Bournemouth's first team, and Kenny had been at at a dinner and bumped into my dad, and Dad tells a story that they were sort of dancing, and Kenny was come up to him and they were like dancing, and he said, "Oh, look, we want to sign your son." And I'll never forget that morning, waking up and Dad coming in and said, "Look, I was at this event last night, and Dad wasn't dancing with Kenny, by the way, but Dad was, and he said, "Look, I want to." He said that Kenny Dalglish wants to sign you. I was like, wow, imagine that. Like Kenny's the king, the greatest, and he wants Liverpool's the biggest club in the world. They want to take you. So I was blown away. And he said, look, they want you to go up there for a week. So I remember going up there for a week's training, and I stayed in some digs there, and I did great. I trained really well, loved it, fell in love with the place, and thought this is where I want to be. And John Barnes was my hero at the time, still is. But I remember thinking, this is great, and I want to sign for Liverpool, but I don't want to go in their youth team. I want to be, I can play in your first team, this is talking to my dad, I'll be in your first team get more experience, and then I'll go there as a man. I want to play against, in front of crowds and get some experience in that respect. So I was playing in a lot of games, enjoying it, and we played, I think it was Chester, my last game for Bournemouth, and played really well, beat them 2-1. And I remember after the game, they had a guy called Graham Barrow. Graham was, I think he's coaching, manager now somewhere. Graham was tough, and he was like, kind of kick me in. But I played well, and I thought, I'm ready. I remember after the game saying, look, Dad, I'm ready now, I want to go. It was an unusual one, and to be honest, he was quite happy because he was desperate to get that new kitchen in when he sold me. So and that was pretty much happened. Then Kenny was on the phone, and I went up there, and I think altogether about 750 grand. As I said, I was the most expensive teenager at the time. Went up to Liverpool, and it was a whirlwind, mate. I remember going up on the Thursday, and we went to the stadium, did the pitches with Kenny, and then Kenny said to my dad, and come back to the house. He lived in Southport, went for a bit of pasta. And I'll never forget feeling like, with the emotion, like having dinner and having it, but being so physically tired. Yeah. And then Friday, I went in training again. And Kenny said to me, he said, look, you come back and stay, you're going to stay at the house tonight. So it was Kenny and Marino, were the most lovely people. And Kelly Dalglish at the time. Kelly's a touch younger than me, and Paul were there at the time. And he said that you're going to be involved in the squad. They were playing Wimbledon at home. So I was 17 years of age, and I was so excited. But the fact that I was staying at Kenny's house, was just such a lovely gesture. So went there, and next day we're travelling, and he drove me. I couldn't. He just don't drive. Drove it back to the ground. Went into the pre-match with all the players, and I'm just thinking, I'm just in the squad. In those days, 2 subs, so I thought I had no chance of being on the bench. And sat down, team meeting about an hour and a half before the game in the first team dressing room. I never forget it, Fenners. I was sitting. So in the dressing room, it's very simple. So we're sitting here. Kenny was sort of stood there. So I'm taking it all in, but I'm also looking at all these incredible players. I've only been here 2 days. Although I came on a trial, so like John Barnes is there, Stevie Nicol, Jan Molby, Ronnie Whelan, Ian Rush, just like people that I've been watching, Alan Hansen, all that time. And Kenny sort of names the team. So I'm just listening, but not listening, obviously. So as he names the 13, I just go and get up and walk out. And everyone's coming up to me and going, congratulations, good luck today, well done. I'm like, what? You're on the bench. I didn't even register that I was actually on the bench for this game. We were playing Wimbledon, the crazy game at the time. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, but then the excitement, and I couldn't wait for half time because I just wanted to go out on the pitch and get on Anfield because I'd not played there before. And
you just get on pinging balls.
Really, I think Barry Venison was the other sub. And he's an experienced, but he doesn't want to go and kicking about on the pitch. It's like he's taking his little boy out for a kickabout, Anyway, managed to get him to come out, and I'm pinging them, I'm hitting cuts, I'm driving them, I've got all the passes, trying to show everyone how good it was, back of the neck and everything. Anyway, I think we drew 0-0 or 1-1, can't remember. I think they might have equalised, and I was watching, obviously, Vinnie Jones was playing, etc. Yeah. But I never got on. But I think if we'd have been winning 2-3-0, I might have made my debut, and it would have been unbelievable. But that was great. And Kenny looked after me so well, and I think he realised where I was, because my mum and dad were not, he realised with my background, he really made a fuss of me because he knew it was a big thing for me to leave at such an early age. And then, obviously, I think within 3 months he leaves, but even then, I just cannot speak more highly of him because I was devastated. I remember I was going to be travelling with the squad to Luton. We were playing them in I think it was an FA Cup game. And I'm in the squad the day before, and I remember coming in on that Friday morning, and it was different. You know, walked into Anfield, people whispering, Kenny's going. Well, what are you talking about? He's leaving. And I remember getting called into the first team dressing room, and Kenny doing a speech in front of all the players just to say that he's going to be, retiring. He said, and I couldn't believe it, because I've just signed, what's next for me? He left, but you could see in his face, he was tired. He'd come to the point he just couldn't do it anymore. And I remember going back to my digs, and my digs were in Anfield Road, right across, and I was like, okay, what's going to be next? And I stayed with a lady called Mrs. Sainsbury. Anyway, phone goes, must have been 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and Mrs. Sainsbury said, Jamie, there's a phone call for you. So I go to get the phone, and it was Kenny. And I was like, why is he calling me? He's got everything going on in his life. Last thing he wants to do is speak to me. Anyway, he just said, hi, Jamie, I just want to say that you're going to be all right. They think the world of you there. I want to keep my eye on you, he said, but I've had to do it for whatever the reasons that I've had, and I've had a lot going on. He said, but just keep working hard. There's a lot of love for you at the club. Wow. He said, I know you're not in the squad now because they changed the squad, but the more experienced players, he said, but tomorrow afternoon after training, I'd love you to come and have a game of golf with me. And I was like, okay, perfect, Kenny. And I'll never forget that. It's one of the kindest things anyone's ever done. And I think it tells you everything about the man. Because he had loads of things going on. I didn't for 1 second think I deserved that phone call. But I think it just shows you what a classy guy he is.
Do you let him win at golf?
Yeah, I think I did. But he would have beat me anyway because Kenny's so competitive. But no, just amazing, how classy the guy was.
Yeah, amazing human being. Footballer, my footballing hero, but what he did for the club and the city is.
But even before he come Fenners, I remember he'd arranged for Adidas to come down, and this is where this sort of comes. When I look at these boots, where someone from Adidas came into remember the players' lounge there? Do you go down to the players' lounge? And I remember Kenny saying, look, there's someone coming to see you after, and I was like, oh, okay. So walked in. And he's a good mate of mine now. It's a guy called Steve Martin. And he walked, and as I walked into the room, he was sat over there. He said, that's Steve, go and say hello to him. He works for Adidas. I was like, wow, what's he going to do? Anyway, he had like 3 or 4 pairs of boots for me. He knew my size, a couple of tracksuits. Remember the old equipment stuff and things like that?
Yes.
So I was like, this will do for me.
Yeah.
It was almost like, I don't know what the equivalent is now, but I thought, I've arrived.
Yeah.
I'm here now. You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
You've got 3 boots. It's nothing better.
And so who came in after Kenny?
So then it was Ronnie Moran took over for a little while, and then Graham Souness came in as manager, and that was difficult. I've got to be honest, because at the start, I was starting then on a level playing field with everyone else. When any player that's been bought by a club, for whether it's right or wrong, you'll go straight to you're on the top of the food chain because they spent money on you. Whether I was better than some of those players or not, it didn't matter. That's just how it worked. Then all of a sudden Kenny goes and it's like, right, you're back to where everyone else is. And I've got to be honest with you, there were some low moments because I was thinking, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be good enough? Does the next manager like me? And Graham never said a word to me. Honestly, he walked past you in the hallway or wherever it was because he didn't know who I was. He didn't.
No, yeah.
He was just worried about the 16 or the 18 first team players. And then my life changed. We had a game. The team weren't doing that well, and we had a game again, like an in-house game, the reserves against the first team. And I turned it on, played great. And Graham come up to me after it and went, "You're playing tomorrow." I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you're starting." He said, "Tell your dad, in case your dad wants to fly over." Anyway, it was a European game. We were playing against Auxerre, and it was like I just couldn't believe it. And that changed everything for me. I was 18 years of age. I got my first opportunity. We lost 2-0. We ended up winning 3-2 in the set over the 2 legs. I played all right. I wasn't anything special, but I still did enough to get in. And then the following week we played Southampton, or a week or 2 after. We drew 1-0, and I scored my first goal for Liverpool at the Dell. So things were just starting to go my way again, and that's confidence. You need a little bit of love and a bit of luck. Yeah.
So you were wearing these in the 3-3 against United at Anfield. United with 3 up. I think it's when Ryan Giggs scored a little dink and.
Well, I gave away a goal as well.
Did you?
I think that
I wasn't going to mention that.
No, I did, mate. I'll tell you. I think it was that goal. But I played a bit of a short pass back to Mark Wright. He didn't come and try and get it, and Giggsy just went past towed it and then just chipped Brucey. Yeah, it was.
But I remember this was, so we didn't have Sky, so I always used to go, have a little smell. I used to go to my mate's house and we'd sit and watch it. And I want to say I felt like it was a Monday Night Football, but this was when Sky was quite new, so it was so exciting. You were seeing like live football.
Mate, it weren't exciting out on that pitch, so when you're 3-0 down at home.
Mate, but that game, it stands out. The 4-3s, but that game as well was, because I remember you and, because Razor scored
great
header,
yeah.
And you were doing the...
Well, we didn't do it. It's funny, because I've got to be honest, I hadn't played well first half, and we were getting killed, and then we went in 3-1. I think Nigel scored a goal, got us back in it, and it changed everything. So I think he might have made a couple of subs. Anyway, stayed on. I did well second half, and we just got back into it. We got 3-2. Cloughie scored again, and then I remember, I think it was Stigging Bjornaby, I think it was. He played a great whip ball in, and Razor's just come and powered a header in. And I was just so relieved. And as I've gone like that, it was almost like simultaneous. Then Razor does the same thing. It looks like we're doing it. He's rubbing his head, but I'm just doing that because it was such a great moment.
Ah, right, okay.
And then we 3-0, and then I remember a couple of minutes to go, I've cut inside Paul Ince. He slipped, just hit one. I've bent one, and Peter Schmeichel's chipped it over the bar or around the post, and could have ended up winning the game. But no, these were the boots. And I always remember these because do you know what that red bit's for?
Go on.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Yeah. Well, that was at the time, that was meant to be for like extra power because you get that, when you're striking the ball.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So that was a power zone or something like that.
I love that.
So yeah, I did. Yeah. So that was but isn't it amazing when you look at that at the time? That was so futuristic.
Yeah, but now you look at that and you go, wow. What I always say that is the best sole plate, the design of any football boot. I don't think you'll better that. And even today it looks really modern, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But the leather was beautiful and. Yeah, just a great boot.
So have you got a boot boy at this? A boot boy sounds terrible. Have you got an apprentice looking after you at this?
Yeah,
this
so
stage?
it's always had, especially at Liverpool. Stephen Gerrard was one of the boot boys there. He was, which is a bit awkward because I probably should have been cleaning his boots really. But Stevie was great, and I would always get him. But at that time, I was probably wearing Mizunos.
Mizunos as well, yeah.
Yeah, but the Adidas were the boots, and I think especially Liverpool were sponsored by them.
Yeah.
But I think my life changed a little bit when they brought out the Predator as well.
Yeah.
Because that was such a great boot. And then as one of the first players to sort of wear them, that was sort of the next step from this. And Craig Johnson, obviously at Liverpool, designed them.
Should we get onto them then?
Have you got them?
I might have.
Oh, Fenners, stop it.
Well,
You're teasing me
we've
today.
had a go. We've had a go.
Coca-Cola Cup. Right, 1995.
They're a remake, recent-ish remake, but they're relatively close to the original. The tongue's different, I think.
Well, yeah, because the tongue, I think, they brought out a few prototypes as well. Because the amazing thing was, an ex-footballer, Craig Johnson, for people that wear Predators now, Craig played for Liverpool, scored goals in the FA Cup final, and won countless league trophies, and did amazing things. But he was obviously always different. He was so clever that he wanted to design a football boot. I was with Adidas. And I was the first player to score a free kick in the Premier League.
Really?
And John Collins was the first to score an actual free kick or a goal up in Scotland. He was playing for Celtic, I think, at the time. But I scored my first one against Leeds, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't a classic. It was a little bit, probably, I think John Lukic was in goal. He could have done a bit better. But it didn't matter. It was still the first goal. Because if you see it, that it was so... When I spoke to Craig about it, I said, what were you thinking? Because it was almost like, no, but in a lovely way. Because they were so comfortable to strike this with this boot, but it was almost like a table, he wanted to do like a table tennis bat, so you can get extra spin on it. So that was obviously, when you look at it now and how it's evolved, the Predator, that was so different. But if you see that now, it's like almost like a rattlesnake skin, isn't it, you know? But, and it's obviously got more, and then they made it smaller and dialed it down a bit, because this was probably a bit of a chunky version.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think when you first put them on?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a great boot. It was innovative, and I think as well, at that time, with branding and things like that, you wanted to be one of the first to do anything, and that's why I was always quite keen on that. And then Neil, I remember they did a, Shoot magazine was such a big thing in those days. Every week, everyone got Shoot magazine. If you got on the front of Shoot, it was like getting on Question Sport, you made it. And Shoot magazine brought out it was an April Fool.
Yeah.
And then the April Fool was Neil Ruddock they made a Predator headband for him that could make you spin headers, and you could buy this headband. So they was very clever in their marketing, but...
Did they make prototypes of that headband? Did they?
We actually did it on the front page, and it was like, because in those days, you know, there was one day, and so it was Friday morning, I think it was, with Shoot magazine would come out. So they make, so there's this on the front page of Shoot, Neil, and we're all there like pretending that this actually was going to be a thing, but it was only an April Fool.
But they actually made one up though. So,
yeah.
So one existed.
There is one
so
somewhere.
if anyone knows where that might be, there's bound to be a collector out there, maybe someone Adidas who've got that from the April Fools. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea actually.
Yeah. And then I wore these in the, as you say, the Coca-Cola Cup, and that was an amazing day because it was, to win a trophy for Liverpool. It was unbelievable day. I had played well, enjoyed it. Could have gone either way. The McManaman final, wasn't it? So Steve scored 2 incredible goals that day, and he was the difference maker. So but they were good boots. I did enjoy wearing the Predators because, as I say, that was when I was just starting to understand like the value of branding and making, trying to be a little bit different with things.
And any other players wearing them? What was the reaction to you wearing them? Like, I'm sure because Liverpool being quite, with the boot room and quite old school, new ideas. Not obviously they're very welcome to new ideas, but you know what I'm saying in terms of tradition, that's quite a leap, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, there wasn't any players, Fenners. There was not one player. Probably the first player I saw wear a pair of white boots. And if you look now, if you watch the Premier League game, you probably see one pair of black boots. Was John Barnes in the FA Cup final we lost to Man United. That would be the only player that would do it. So this would probably be more outlandish because you'd had the thicker white stripes. But apart from that, black boots. Yeah. And that was how it was. Nobody really did anything differently. So he could have done. He could have worn it. Pink boots, any colour boots. Still was the best.
What was he wearing then? Would it have been?
I don't know what he wore that day. White Diodora or something like that.
Valsport maybe. Or
But John was beautiful footballer, so he was one of my favourite players.
We need him on here.
Yeah. Oh, he'd love that. He had the Diodora, isn't he? Trying to think what else John
Miters.
wore.
Yeah. Miters. Yeah. You know the goal he scored in the Maracana?
Were they Miters?
I think he was wearing Miters, yeah.
What a player.
Diodoras. I think he had Pantofola as well.
Yeah, I think he did.
At some stage.
Yeah, but these were great boots. And and it was difficult because I ended up doing, so after that Mizuno came in, it's like with boot deals, and I'd sort of come to the end of my, and Mizuno, there was Kathy was working there, and she was great. She sort of really understood the value of marketing, and there was a lot of players wearing Adidas, and they came along and said, which I've always liked, even now I like to, with some of the decisions you make, I want to be. Mizuno didn't have anyone else. They had Rivaldo, who was a great player, and then I was doing well at Liverpool and playing pretty good, and so they wanted to sign me, and I thought, well, I'll be one of the only players wearing that, and they wanted to do a marketing campaign where they put me on the side of buses. I was in magazines, and it was just purely based on just being me. And they're quite clever strap lines they used. But I always remember at Anfield sometimes, you'd be training, and I'd just look over. And remember the training ground there with the wall, and you see the double-decker bus with me on the side, and I was like, that's pretty cool,
hey,
really. Yeah. But even then, you got a bit of stick for that.
Yeah, of course.
I was a bit, I felt a bit embarrassed, but nowadays you wouldn't care. But it was quite a cool campaign, and they just did in different parts of the country. And Mizuno boots were beautiful.
They were lovely boots.
All designed in Japan. Yeah. Really, they were sensational.
Did you wear studs and moulds?
Yeah, they had the studs and the mould, but they were probably one of my favourite boots I ever wore, Mizuno. And also at a good time, I was played really well in them. Things were good. Life was good in terms of my playing for my country and things like that. So yeah, Mizuno was a good decision for me, and it also got me, got you recognised, because that's what sometimes you have to do these things. Yeah. It wasn't as prominent as what it is now, marketing, but it was certainly starting to come in.
And you had the ones with the yellow stripes as well, didn't you?
Yeah,
they were really sought after. Those ones.
Beautiful, really good boots.
Yeah. You wore those in the Euros, didn't you?
Yeah.
The ones with the yellow stripes, because a dentist chair. I'm sure there's a shot of you in the,
do you know what?
Yellows.
When I wore those ones in Euro '96, I broke my ankle in that game, but against Scotland, I did a stupid thing, and I look back now. So there was I put my own inner soles into those boots. Right. So in the inner soles, they were quite thick, because there was a thing, you get a bit more energy and bounce back from them. So I've been training them, and anyway, I wore them in the game. And as I remember, I came on against Scotland, and probably in the form of my life. I just felt great in training all week. I've been just lighting it up, and I thought, this is it now. I'm going to be in the team. And winning 2-0, they're singing, it's coming home, just nothing like it. Gary McAllister, I think it was, just got a ball in midfield, and I've read the pass, and as he sort of clipped it over made, I've gone to just jump and head it, and I've just landed. And as I've landed, obviously, where I've been slightly elevated, I've just gone like that, and I heard it crack. And yeah, I mean, nothing to do with the boots. It's purely that I put these silly inner soles in them. Anyway, because now if you look at inner soles with boots, they're so thin. End up breaking it or having to come off, got to stretch it off, and had to get an X-ray, and obviously didn't play.
Did you realise it was
after that?
bad at the time?
I knew straight away. I heard the crack,
Yeah.
so it was a bit of a, in terms of disappointments, it doesn't get any more because. But I didn't want to leave Fenners. I was part of the squad. I just thought this was like the best stag do ever. You know what I mean? You were the lads. Gazza was there. I was part of that. You look back at moments and you go, yeah, of course. I'd love to have been involved in the Spain game and the Holland game, which are iconic, and getting to the final, which I probably because of I forced my way in that Scotland game. But I was still part of it.
Yeah.
You can always go, oh, that could have happened, that could have happened. But if you in life you go, okay, just be grateful for what did happen.
96 was such a pivotal year for football, wasn't it? Like you speak to a lot of young kids, and like 96 was kind of like the year that it was like the gateway for them getting into football and everything that went with it.
Yeah. Well, Oasis were big at the time, weren't they? It was it just felt like there was a lot of optimism, and that was a bit of a mad time as well, because we'd had the dentist chair, and I'd never seen how when there was no love for the team. We went to Hong Kong, and obviously Gazza's birthday, and we had the dentist chair, and it's like we're sitting here now, and Gazza said, "Right, boys, listen." Brian Robson was out of us. He said, "There's a dentist chair there. You sit in it, and then they pour vodka and tequila in down your throat." We thought, "No, this is fine." There's no mobile phones in those days. We didn't take into account that someone behind the ramp would be taking photos of us. And at the time, they never got a picture of me, Fenners.
Right.
And I was like, oh, what a result, because my dad's going to kill me. He said that, because at least I could say I was there.
I was selling him to stop.
I know, but now I look back, I think, where is that photo? Why did he take? They didn't even know who I was. They probably thought I was one of the fans. So I haven't got that photo, but that was. And then we came back and we drew against Switzerland first game, and we got hammered. The crowd, everyone, the press, the amount of stick we got. And obviously the Scotland game, we won 2-0, and then all of a sudden the whole country turned almost against the press and got behind the team. And it was one of the best times of my life, even going to games. You remember, like going to play Spain or going to play, what was, I can't think what the semi-final was.
Well, the game for me was the Holland game. We dismantled them. I mean, best England performance, complete performance, start to finish. Went on and they were, actually their goal knocked Scotland out, didn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Sorry, lads.
Sorry, Scotland. But it was, the best ever. And that was part, and even going to the games, and I had a broken, but I still never wanted to leave the squad. And just being around it, and all the crowds, like, were lying in the streets on the way to the games, they knew the route. It was just a brilliant time to be part of it.
I remember feeling, as you get older, your defeats, when we get knocked out of tournaments and things, you process them a bit quicker as a fan, I think. But I remember getting knocked out by the Germans on pens, and they went to the closer, and it was Walk Away by Cast, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like thinking, great tune, but it's heartbreaking.
It was.
Heartbreaking.
Cunts. No, he got the goal.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did.
Well, what's wrong with you? Why are you like that?
Oh, that's too good, That's too good, mate.
That right there?
Okay, perfect. 4 down. 4 to go.
Fenners. Yep. This is nice. Thank you, mate. Straight away. So that's 99, Belgium. Yeah, this one's good. It makes me a little bit emotional thinking about this one, because I scored 1 goal for England.
What a goal.
What a goal. Yeah, unusual goal, because I wasn't strong on my left foot, if I'm honest. I was more of a, I could always strike a ball, scored a lot of goals from distance. But this one in the OTM pose was a nice moment, because for a number of reasons, really. Obviously, it was the only not disappointment, but the only thing was it wasn't at Wembley, it was at Stadium of Light. And it was Frank's debut as well. So for Frank to be in, he was my younger cousin. There's 5 years between us. Kevin Keegan was the manager, and to score the winning goal, and it was an incredible strike with my left foot was quite bizarre, really. because I scored the best goal I never scored was against Bulgaria for England. I hit a free kick, Fenners. Honestly, it's the best. I think it's somewhere, and I must be 35 yards out, and I'm sort of right side of the pitch. And as I'm looking at the goal there, the keeper's, he thinks I'm going to whip it in with my right foot. And he's edging so far, and I'm looking, thinking, God, I've got to hit this. So I've just hit this thing and cut across it. But as I've hit it, the referee's blowing the whistle at the same time. It's gone like a rocket, and it's gone in off the crossbar, bounced in. The keeper would never have saved it. Anyway, he blows up for a free kick. So yeah, disgrace.
I've never seen that.
No,
Who was it against?
It was against Bulgaria. Right. Stoichkov's last game. So yeah, unbelievable strike. So then I was thinking, right, am I ever going to score? I had a couple of nearly ones, and then we play in Belgium in a friendly, and we get to the second half. Frank was doing well, I was doing all right. It was just a good game, and then I picked it up on the sort of left-hand side of the pitch, and with this one, I just sort of played one round the corner into Michael Owen. Anyway, the guy just nips in front of him, and it comes back to me, and I just thought, I'm going to just see what happens. I'm going to unload and just hit this thing like a rocket. And it was even better because it hits the underside of the bar and bounces up and in, and it just looks so nice.
Goals always look better when that happens.
And so this left footer of the old Tiempos was one of the sweetest strikes I've ever hit.
Wasn't much backlift, was there?
No, I've got to be honest, Fenners. I'd like to say, my left foot was okay, but I just thought I'm just going to hit it as hard as I can, because sometimes they can go into anywhere. But it was a beautiful feeling, and to score a goal for your country, it's like they're things that no one can ever take away from you.
Best goal you scored? Would you say that one?
Probably left-footed. Yeah. I mean, I scored a lot of good strikes, but that would certainly be up there. A lot of free kicks I scored for Liverpool. And
what was that one with?
That was against Blackburn. That was a nice strike. Yeah, a little cut across. Yeah, that was Ian Wright, wasn't it?
Oh, right.
Ian Wright, he copied the following week. We used to always talk about celebrations.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but he was the coolest guy, right? But he nicked it off me the following week. No, that was a nice one against Tim Flowers. I cut across it, and that was a year after when I scored the free kick. When Blackburn won the league.
Okay, yeah.
So I used to for some reason I liked scoring. Tim was a great keeper, but I seemed to always score past him. It's funny how you have teams or goalkeepers that you score against. But this one would. Probably because playing for your country and to score and a winning goal as well. That was a nice feeling.
Yeah, and a very nice boot as well.
Nice boot. Yeah, they were really Tiempos were just classics, weren't they? Really good.
So did you have a boot deal with Nike at this stage then?
Yeah. So I went with Nike. So you probably know better than me as you're the connoisseur. So I think I went Adidas, Nike, then Mizuno, or Adidas, Mizuno, Nike.
Oh, good point. I don't really know. I like the fact you've called me the connoisseur. I'm not. You went Adidas, Mizuno, Mizuno, Nike. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Because I think then you carried on with Nike.
Yeah.
Into Spurs.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
Yeah, I think I started wearing them when I started wearing Adidas again.
But then I think you started wearing Adidas again.
Yeah. But these were great boots, and they were great to work with. Nike and all the boots you wear, but it's just sort of like you go through phases of I've had a new boot comes out and you like the shape of it, and I was always wanted comfortable boots, and I think that's where you make that's where you make the choices.
Yeah. Absolutely rattling through these.
I like these Fenners. Right, what we got here next?
We've moved
2002, White Hart Lane. Yeah, I remember this one.
As you can see, we've only got one because they're difficult to come by, and this is one of Joe Cole's.
Yeah, no, I can remember the boot. Remember it really well. It was a nice boot. It was like it was from Predator had sort of gone without the rubber and just made it a bit cleaner. But when you think about that, that's strong there, isn't it? But no,
it's like you say, it's akin to a Predator, isn't it? But really popular and really sought after.
I remember now. I'll tell you why I went back to Adidas, and it goes. I mean, don't feel too good. Obviously, my injury-prone reputation, but when I'd left Liverpool to go to Tottenham, I was wearing the hybrid version of the Copa Mundials. So Patrick Berger's dad was a cobbler, so he used to put the stud plate and he'd put two metal studs at the back, and he'd still keep the moulds. And then he'd do the 4 studs at the front, but so you had the comfort of a Copa Mundial, but with the studs.
Was he living in
So
the
his
UK?
dad no, Patrick was at Liverpool at
Yeah.
the time, and he'd always make me a couple of pairs, so he'd do it for
Right.
both of us, because
Okay.
his dad was like, just lived in the Czech Republic.
I love that.
Anyway, I had a pair, and I'm playing in the game. We're playing at home for Tottenham, and I actually started quite well. I scored on my debut. We beat Aston Villa 1-0, and I thought, okay, things are good. Knee was feeling okay. I passed the medical. It wasn't great. I had to manage it because the knee, I could tell I was starting to struggle a bit with it. And I remember playing in this game, and I was getting a bit of discomfort on the bottom of my foot. I mean, what had happened, where one of the studs had come a bit loose, because he'd done it, and he was brilliant at what he did, but this one had come loose while I was playing, so I ended up playing the whole game with it. Anyway, it worked out. After the game, I was a bit in pain. The next day I woke up, went for it. I said to the physio, this doesn't feel right. So I went and had an x-ray, and I'd broken my metatarsal.
Okay.
And I think where the stud was in a slightly different position, it would just cause that little bit of discomfort,
Right.
and obviously you break your metatarsal, because we saw Rooney, Beckham. It was a nightmare injury. So once I got back, that was when I went away from the Copas and doing that, and then I found this boot because it was obviously sturdy. These are banned now, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm
probably
quite
rightly
obvious
so.
why, isn't it?
I mean, look at that.
Yeah. I always think Stevie G coming into your 50-50
Stevie
with those
G
on.
would leave a bit on you with these ones on, yeah. But no, that was probably a good move. But they were good. But that was a good. But when you wore these, you had unbelievable grip, on the pitch. But because you didn't really need to wear a mould with these. These was like moulds and studs. But no, rightly so, probably banned.
Yeah. Some people used to say you get too much grip, so that and they could get stuck in the turf.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when
you could have
people getting knee
cruciates
injuries
or
and
whatever.
things like that.
Yeah, but it's good memories though in this boot. But I didn't, as I say, Tottenham was difficult because I was struggling with my knee really badly, Fenners, and I couldn't. During that period, I couldn't train. If I played on a Saturday, I couldn't train till the Thursday. I broke my metatarsal. Then my knee was getting really sore, and had a couple of scored a nice goal against Arsenal in the game when the Invincibles won the league at Tottenham.
Right.
That was White Hart Lane, which was a very strange day because we were 2-0 down and we managed to come back to 2-2. And just remember thinking, what a team that was, Fenners, we were chasing shadows. I mean, I've got to be honest, I've never done it. It was the only time I've done it on the pitch. I stopped at one point to count their players because I was convinced they had one more than us. Honestly, I was like, Bergkamp was coming from nowhere, and then Vieira's there, and then Petit's there, and Ashley Cole was coming in, and Pires. I was like, what's going on here? And then somehow I scored a good goal. The ball comes across. I think it was with his boot actually, and I just hit like a bit of a fade on it, and it just went past Jens Lehmann. Lovely strike into the corner, and then with 2-1, the crowd were up. We had no right to be in the game still, so it could have been 4 or 5. And then we always said, and I said to Robbie at half time, I was talking about Jens Lehmann, and Jens was a good keeper, but he was a bit wild. You could sort of rough him up, and he'd react. And I said, Robbie, just get into his face. If we get corners, anything, let's just try and create a bit of a bit of distraction for him. Anyway, Robbie, corner comes in, Robbie's wrestling with him. Anyway, he pulls Robbie to the ground, referee gives a penalty, we end up getting a 2-2 draw.
Right.
So not that we come out of it with pride, but it could have, they won the league, so they were obviously buzzing, but at least we managed to save some face. And I remember swapping shirts with Thierry Henry that day.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Thierry, because I know you're pals with him.
Yeah, I love Thierry, he's a great lad.
What was it like playing against Thierry Henry? I like to ask players because I want that insight into, do you have that moment where you're on the pitch, even at somebody at your level, and you're going, like,
he's playing
it's
a
just
different
ridiculous.
Sport. Yeah, playing. It was like that, and he had this. I think what set him apart was he had great football intelligence, but he had pace that was just like to burn, and you felt uncomfortable getting too close to him because if you did, he could just go knock it past you. And unbelievable touch, finesse, and he used to just pull out because they had the three of them, didn't they? He would pull out to the left. If I was playing the right side of midfield, you'd have Ashley Cole coming down the side, Pires would come into the little pocket, and Henry would go, and you'd be like, how do you stop them? And there was like, so difficult. It was like Thierry it was almost like he bought a motorbike on the pitch, one of them, he just had a different level of pace. And we swapped shirts that day, and I remember I moved house about 4 or 5 years ago, and I found the shirt somewhere. I thought I'd lost it, and I give it back to him. Because I always think sometimes there's certain moments you swap shirts with people, and it's great for me to have it, and it's lovely to you'll look back, but it's better for him to have
Yeah.
it because that was the game that he won. I can't remember if he scored that day or not.
Probably.
I think I think no, but I don't think Vieira definitely scored, but he was an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
And it was like a different sport.
I'd love to get him on air because do you know he wore Adidas, Puma, Reebok and Nike. He's one of the only players I think who've done that because Reebok were obviously a big player then.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, so he won. Yeah.
Good stat that. I mean, you seem a bit underwhelmed by it, but I think
No,
it's
I'm
a really
trying to
good
think.
stat.
No, I'm trying to visualise his sort of
His boot journey.
when I think about him at his best. So what boot would you put him in at his best?
Nike, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Reebok as well. I've got
Yeah.
the goal.
Adidas did he wear? So I can't picture him in Adidas.
Yeah, I mean, I might have made a fool of myself here, but
No, I don't think you have. No, I'm sure, but I don't remember. I don't picture him in something like this.
No. Maybe a Predator, maybe a Predator toward the back end. But I think the goal he scored against United, the little scoop and volley.
Is that Nike?
I feel that was a Nike boot.
Yeah, that was lovely, wasn't it? And then the what's that?
I'm really hoping that someone out there is going to start Googling.
it.
They're not though, are they?
No.
They're not. It's too busy working. Perfect. Yeah, smashing.
That was a great
sorry,
boot.
I've only got one, mate.
No, that's all right. Joe Cole, we could play a bit, couldn't
Oh, lovely
What
box.
we got here?
Stripy.
Stripy. Oof.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Ooh.
So take the box out as well because the purists they like to see the box.
They
generally.
do. Christmas, isn't it?
Been told to take care of that box as well. So box on box.
Yeah. Beautiful.
The pulse.
Yeah, that was a great boot. You know, it's like this was one of my favourite periods in my career, but also probably the hardest and the saddest because of, you know, we got relegated at Southampton, and that was so tough in my last few games.
Yeah.
But I also had a few great moments, and there's something I'll never forget. I was working with my dad again. You know, my dad had me as a Bournemouth player, then sold me, and then to go back just for 6 months. And I've got to be honest, mate, it was the hardest time in my career because I was pretty much having cortisones every game. My knee was hanging off. Like every game would swell up. And there's a great physio in London that I still see him. Actually, Kevin Idlow just kept me going for that 6 months, just because I was just so desperate to just try and help the cause and just play. And we had some weird games. You know, we nearly stayed up. We beat Liverpool at home. That was the year Liverpool won the Champions League final. We beat Tottenham at home. We drew against the brilliant Arsenal side. But then we blew a couple of leads, and we got to the last day of the season. I think it was a crazy relegation day when I think there was like 5 sides could have gone down. Us, I think it was Norwich, West Brom, a couple of others. I know West Brom ended up staying at Brian Robson.
Right.
And we played Manchester United that day and just didn't have enough. I think we went 1-0 up as well, weirdly, and then they ended up winning 2-1. But I've got to be honest, it was hard. My knee was, I can't even explain to you how sore it was that day. And I shouldn't really have played. I should have said to my dad, look, I'm not right. You know, I should have let, someone else play. But I just was so desperate to try and, do something. And that was really, it was quite, it was one of those days really, mate, where you just try and suck it up and do your best to play as well as you can. But, I remember, I've seen a few pictures in this boot, and it was a great boot because even the undersole there and everything about it. But also sad memories because it was also, quite a, the weirdest thing is when you've got to retire. And I knew it. I was 30 years of age at the time. I was thinking, the knee's bad. I'm going to go to America, and I went to see the surgeon straight after the game because I was thinking maybe I could play again. And he just was like, no, you've got to stop. Otherwise, you need a knee replacement.
How hard was that?
It's the worst, because you don't prepare for it. You always just feel like you're invincible and you're going to play forever. But I knew it. That was the thing, really, mate. I knew that the pain that I was in wasn't normal. I got a decent pain threshold for things. And when I went there and he looked at the scans and he just said, look, you've got a big hole in your knee. You've got to stop. So it was, but also probably the best news as well. Like when someone actually gives you that finality, you're like, okay, stop now. Just do yourself a favour. Because I've been getting injections, I've been seeing physios, I've done everything I can to carry on playing football. And it was getting to the point where it was actually stupid. I wasn't actually getting much joy out of the game. It wasn't what I grew up wanting to do. So when the surgeon actually said to me that, you know, you're going to retire, it was almost that tiny bit of relief, Fenners, you know, that I can, okay, what's next for me? And as tough as it was, you know, it was you know, it had to be done really, because it was, you know, and I got to 50 and I needed a knee replacement then. So, you know, I'd done a lot of damage to my body really. That was the problem. And obviously, people say when you get injured or you're injury prone, I broke my ankle twice. I had about 10 knee operations. They were always big injuries, unfortunately. And once you get a couple of bad ones, then you start chasing your tail. And I was always quick to come back and play. You know, one of the most stupid things I did at Liverpool was I tore all of my meniscus. And I went down to Oxford and had a surgery. They took my meniscus out and I played in 10 days for the first team. You know, it's ridiculous. Nowadays they have 6 months off. Yeah. But I was just thought, I'm invincible, I'm young, I can play. So you live and learn.
How much did you lean on your relationship with your dad when you finished to have someone to talk to about you know, dealing with that?
Not really. I think that sort of generation, like my dad's like we're best mates, but you know, he wouldn't be that guy that you just, you know, would talk about, you know, or, you know, emotional, how do you feel? That's just not one of his. Probably with other people he'd be better, but I think
how did you deal with that?
I think you just deal with it yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you did. You know, I think nowadays people are a lot more open-minded in terms of getting help and seeking help, and I think that's really important because, you know, especially when you think, okay, what's next? I'm still young, you feel like you're in the prime of your life and you know what you can do. But I also think I knew I couldn't compete to the level I wanted, and that was the hard bit. When you know you're a good player and all of a sudden you're like playing against players that aren't as good as you and you're struggling to get near them. Yeah. So that was when I thought, right, now's the time. Yeah. And then it was a case of what's next. That's the other thing, and I'm lucky that I'd had a good, reasonable career, and Sky was one of the best decisions I ever made going there.
Yeah, because I know Jimmy's spoken about this, and I've spoken to a lot of players who get involved in broadcasting, being pundits or whatever they do. Nothing's ever going to replace it, is it? No. Nothing's going to replace it. But to be part of a team and being on there on match days and talking about football is massive, isn't it?
For me, it was everything, because I never wanted to go into coaching, Fenners. No. Because I think that was the one thing my dad always said, well, you can manage. And I was like, I don't really want to coach, Dad. I wanted to play football. I didn't want to manage. And I don't think, nowadays I look at the players and the stress and the agents and everything that's involved with it. I thought, this isn't for me. All I ever really wanted to do was play. So what's next? And I went and met Sky, and they asked me to go down there, and I met a guy called Vic Wakelin, who was the boss at the time. He was fantastic.
Legend.
He just taught my language. He just said, look, come and work. We've got the live football matches. Just enjoy it. But if whatever you say, as long as you believe it, everyone at home will believe it. Don't say something that don't try to be something you're not. And I think that's just what I've always stuck to, and I have been so lucky. I've made great decisions in my life. I look back and go, signing for Liverpool, great decision. Signing for Sky, great decision. And how things have worked out in my personal life as well. I've been so fortunate, mate. I've been really lucky.
Who did you love playing alongside? Who maybe got the best out of you in terms of a midfield partnership, or maybe someone up top who you linked up with? You had that fantastic kind of shorthand, almost that relationship. You were like on the pitch was.
So John Barnes was probably. I had a lovely relationship with John, and he was such a great player to watch and learn from in training. He was very demanding, really, considering he was quite a laid-back character off the pitch. On the pitch, if the details weren't right, he used to really let you know. So that was good. And I think when we played under Roy Evans, we had 3-5-2, and our midfield, I think, was as good as anybody's, where we'd have, and I think if we'd have won the league, people would talk about the midfield that we had with John Barnes, myself, and McManaman, because Macca was a fantastic player. We had a great balance, but we just fell short. We fell short a couple of times in big moments, cup finals, league titles, blew opportunities to win leagues. Like Arsenal get a lot of stick at the moment. We was a bit like Arsenal in that day. Probably didn't get the seconds, but we played a lot of good football and just didn't get maybe the rewards. But Man United were great. They had Beckham and Giggs and Keane and Scholes and tremendous players, and obviously a winner of a manager. But the player that I would say got the best out of me was definitely Paul Ince, because he was the perfect partner for me. Because Ince, you know, when I think back to one of my best seasons with playing with Paul Ince, I got, 10 goals from midfield, loads of assists. You know, he really drove the best out of me. You know, he's quite demanding, Ince. You know, like he'd shout at me, and I needed that sometimes. I wasn't laid back, but I needed sometimes just like, and he would get me doing things that weren't necessarily in my makeup, like in terms of going in for tackles. And if I didn't or I missed the challenge, and that would get me riled up. And so Ince, I felt I learnt a lot from. He was when he come back from Italy, because he'd played in Milan, he was very big on working his left foot, because people weren't as two-footed as what they are now. Whereas Ince would go, right, we're going to do some shooting after, we work on our left side, hence probably where I got that goal from England came from. So I would say that Paul, drove me on a lot and made me a better player. I like Ince. He was a good guy, and he was a good for me, because he was like the yin and yang. We worked well together.
You'd rather have him alongside you than playing against you.
I've
seen a picture.
I know,
I saw a picture the other day of him like launching in on a two-footed tackle on you.
That was on me. Oh yeah, and he got sent off that day.
Oh yeah.
He got sent off. That was playing for Wolves, and afterwards he started having a go at me for getting himself. What are you trying to do? You're trying to cut me in half.
He's in mid-air like that.
I know. Yeah, exactly. But no, Ince was a great player. But I enjoyed playing against him as well. Even as a young player, I remember one of my first games was playing against him at United, and they beat us 1-0, and I must have been like 18 or something like that. And I was just like, he was great. He was demanding. He wanted a win, and tremendous technique. And he would be, I don't know, there'd be no price on him now if he played.
He was Predators, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was Predators, Adidas a lot.
The governor. He had the governor written on his.
I always remember seeing him as well. He loved the Adidas equipment gear, didn't he? Yeah. First time I played against Ince, or one of the first times I'd sort of come into contact was that game. And as we were pulling into Old Trafford, I remember seeing all the players' cars there. He had like L8 Gov, and I thought, what a helmet, But then he scored the winning goal. But sorry, Ince, I love you really.
Yeah. What a player! I'm going to give you a scenario.
Yep.
So you're coming out of retirement, right? But we've got a contract for you today, because it's got the date on there, today's date. All your clubs want you.
Right.
Yeah? All your clubs want you. It's only time for one of them, obviously. So, who have you gone for?
Which club am I going to play for? It has to be Liverpool.
Okay.
I want to you know what I want to do, mate? And I saw it yesterday when I was at the game. Just to touch that "This is Anfield" sign and walk out with a captain's armband one more time. There ain't nothing better than that. And then, score in front of the Kop. It's like, there is no feeling like it. They always talk about the greatest drug. I've never taken drugs. I don't know what it would be like. That drug of running, like I remember scoring a goal against Man United when must have been 19, 20. We beat them 2-0. And I scored with my left foot past Schmeichel, and the roof came off. And like, you just run in there, and the people's faces and the enjoyment that you've given them. It's like there is nobody or anyone can take that away from you. They are the moments that you live for.
Yeah.
And, practicing in the garden and things like that. So if I got at a return or one more game, it would definitely be at Anfield.
Okay. So what we're doing is I've asked you to select a pair of boots from the current market of boots that are out there, and they're inside that box.
Okay. Yep. Love these. The Harry Kane specials.
Yeah.
I mean, this shows you where the market, like when you just feel how good that is there, how soft that is, and how it's just changed.
Do you know what I love about these? The heel, that comfort inside that is just...
Well, you don't have to sit in the bath with socks on.
You certainly don't.
And that's a great boot. And do you know what as well, Fenners? I know what you're thinking, because like, how well would that go with a Liverpool kit as well?
Oh, just a bit.
What Skechers did really cleverly is they just got Nike designers.
Yeah.
And when they get to the trainer market, they made the most comfortable trainers, and then they've obviously now basketball and golf. And they just went into the football market and just got the best designers from Nike and made them. And they are beautiful boots. And so if I was playing one more game at Anfield, captain, score in front of the Kop, touch the "This is Anfield" sign with these boots on, I'd die happy. I will anyway. I'm going to die happy anyway. I'm a lucky guy. But these are, beautiful boot. And they're so light now. Yeah. When you see some of the old Predators and that, I mean, I used to worry. I mean, you used to think you must have been, like, your legs must have been so strong carrying them around. I don't know what it was like in my dad's day with the old hobnail boots they used to wear. Yeah. But no, that's a beautiful boot. And the technology now is so good. Yeah, I love them. Love them, Fenners. And they're, Yeah. I've got plenty of these pairs at home.
Can imagine.
When I'm out in the gut, when I go to play with my boy, actually, I've got Bo's. He's 17. He's at Brentford, and when we go to the park or wherever, we go to the goals and have a practice. I've always got these on. They're great boots.
Yeah.
I certainly recommend them.
Awesome, mate. I think we might have got a delivery. Hang on. I don't know. This is real. This is what happens.
Why don't you get someone to bring it in and say, look, we've got a delivery for you?
Because this is the reality of it.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
It's like I've literally. How long have they been there? What? Just now? Literally.
Where'd you get them from?
I've got them off. I don't know what they are yet. It could be something very exciting, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Let's hope they're mine. They've got 2 pairs.
No, it's just one pair, but they've been messaged a lad on eBay at the weekend, and he said, "I'll try and get them to you."
Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
That's missing a couple of studs.
So that's the boot, right? But what they did with Mizuno, and Kathy worked at Nike. So one of the other selling points for me, Fenners, when I went to Mizuno was that they got these amazing leather. So the ones that I actually wore and Rivaldo wore as well were special, like they were made in Japan.
Yeah.
They were so good. But that's a great boot. And again, I had a thing with the tongue. Yeah. The tongues it was all about the tongues, wasn't it? Yeah, that's a great boot.
Let's have a look at one. No. I'll just come on. Just a little touch. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a, and also for me, having the buses and the names on the bus and the pictures. So it was just a little bit of, it was just give you an extra reason to go. Because if you would have gone with Nike, they had a load of other players. Or Adidas, so it was just nice to be sort of the only player really in the Premier League at the time I was wearing them.
But you're in good company with Rivaldo, weren't you?
Yeah, he could play a bit, couldn't he?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, great boots.
Well, we've come to the end.
Love it, Fenners.
Enjoyed it?
But I love it. This is my domain, and it's not something you get to talk about a lot. I actually love football boots, and as I say, even now, just the smell, and it just, I'll never change because we're all kids really inside, aren't we? And then that feeling of getting your first, coming down and getting the Patrick Keegan kids, and then getting to Liverpool, and then someone actually giving you a pair, and then someone wants to sign you to wear their boots, and then they start paying you to wear them, and it's like, well, I'll pay you to wear these.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what it's all about.
So I can't let you take all the boots with you, Jamie, but I can let you walk away with one pair. That's what we do on the boot room, you leave with one pair. So I'm going to let you select the pair. And do
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take, and it's not because obviously I'm very lucky. I've got a load of Skechers, and I've got some of the Predators at home, and I've got the Nikes. The one boot that always makes me think about and makes me the happiest is the Pantofola Doros, because that was a great time. I was sick. That's when I made my debut for Bournemouth. That's the boot I was wearing. That's the boot that I felt was sort of my signature, and I love that boot. So if you don't mind, I'll take that one. And I love the box as well.
There you go.
Thank you, Fenners. Thank you for having me.
Let's do one of those, yeah.
Thanks, man. Have a lovely day. It's been really nice. And so nice to talk about all of it. So nostalgic. And
I'm going to actually let you have those as well.
Really?
Yeah. Like normally what we do is like, I got to give us those back. No, but I'm going to actually let you have those back.
Yeah, but like, mate,
I am serious. Yeah.
No, I'm serious as well. Because if you did, we'd have a fight, and it would be embarrassing because you'd be on TV, and I'd knock you out, and then it'll get, and obviously there'd be problems, and you'd start suing me and that.
Done that, have we?
Yeah.
All right.
So can I have them or not? Well, can I have them?
Yeah.
He's so tight, isn't he?